How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What up, Will?
What up? What up?
Welcome to another episode of Story of the Fight, where we cover all things mixed martial arts, not just the UFC. Not just the
UFC. Sometimes there's more.
There's sometimes there's more. And I think that today's episode will be an example of that.
Yeah.
Right? We'll cover some 4 fights from the UFC. After that, we'll cover some of the Francis Ngannou drama. But then after that, we'll cut away to cover another league, because there is more than just the UFC. There is more.
Yes, there is. There is more. But yeah, everybody's talking about the Francis news. Where's he gonna go? All this stuff. We'll talk about it. Just get through 4 fights and we'll talk about it.
Just 4. Quite honestly, like based off this card, that's probably really all we want to talk about. There's some cool stuff that happened.
Kind of worked out well that way.
It really did. But before we get going, if this is your first time stumbling on this podcast, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, goes a long way. If you don't like watching on Spotify or on the YouTubes, you can go on Breaker, Podcast Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM, pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, and social media as well.
Yeah, it's at Story of the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, everywhere. Just go storyofthefight.com. It'll list it all. You just click on everything, hit subscribe, hit follow.
That's right. What's that new one we joined?
Vero,
yeah.
Have I opened it once? But we have the username, and that's all that matters.
Yes, that's all that matters for now. Until everybody's like, man, you've been on Vero, and we're like, damn, we yes, but we haven't posted a single thing.
We have all kinds of when Mastodon. Everyone's talking about Mastodon, how they like skyrocketed in like viewer base or follower base or whatever, and then everyone just stopped going back.
Just died.
They're like, eh.
Oh man. All right. Well, hopefully it doesn't happen with our show. But hey, let's go ahead and hop into a UFC, because like we said, we have a lot to cover. We can go ahead and get started with UFC Vegas 67, Sean Strickland versus Nassourdine Imavov.
What a card. UFC really trying to start the year off with a banger of a card, right?
It's like a cleansing thing, like, hey, let's give you a couple weeks off. We'll start ramping up again. We'll give you Strickland versus Imavov to start off. And the rest of the card will be a cleanser as well.
Yeah. You gotta dip your toe in the water first.
Dude, I've been high on Imavov for a while.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
He's a killer, man, and he's been running through people. He came into this 12-3, seemed like somebody that was just a rising star within that weight division.
Still is, I think. It's tough. You never know how some people are going to react to last-minute opponent changes, right? And like some people may thrive in that. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And I thought he fought a decent fight. But Sean Strickland, I think, for me, the story's more there because he's been getting a lot of hate lately about how he talks about, I want to go out there, I want to be the first guy to murder somebody in there, all this stuff. And then he goes out and he's just like peppering the jab the whole time. He was going for it in this fight. I give him credit. And I'll be honest, people say like, oh, they're boring fights. He has boring fights. Oh, another main event, Strickland main event to put us to bed. All this stuff. I enjoy the fights. I think he poses an interesting puzzle that some people like Beheaded can crack, and some people can't. And it's always, I like that. Will I ever rewatch his fights? Probably not. Am I going to go down the Sean Strickland rabbit hole and watch all his fights like you do with like someone like Aldo or one of those guys? Definitely not.
Are you ready to throw him in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, no. But watching him live, I am interested the whole time. The Cannonier fight, in my opinion, was compelling all the way until the end. I give him credit. I think it's the gap between his talk versus his fights. That's what really like highlights it, because like when Conor was going up and rising up, he's like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and then he's just knocking people out in the first round, and everyone's like, dang. But if Conor was going out there and just jabbing people for 5 rounds, yeah. Imagine if he was talking like that though, and he's just like for like the whole fight, winning on decision every fight. People would be like, all right, dude, you got to back up the talk, And Strickland doesn't quite do that, but I will enjoy his fights every time live. Maybe not
Live, that is live. Man,
yeah.
okay, so going into this, Imavov looked so confident. He probably went through and watched film. And was Punahele dropped him with that left hook? He's like, dude, I have a left hook. No
Yeah, I can
problem.
throw that.
So he's like, he walks in, dude, he looks so relaxed. He picks his nose, looks at it, wipes it on his shorts. Shredded, man. Absolutely shredded. And I was like, this guy looks a little too relaxed right now,
Yeah.
And then he's
Strickland
just walking into the living room.
Yeah.
And man, little did he know he was in for a war. He catches Strickland as he's like backing up with that left hook.
Yeah.
And he looks at him. He's like, oh, he didn't go down.
He's like,
and
I might not have the power that Punahele has.
Yeah. But man, props to Strickland. Goes up in weight class. I think they said it was what, 2 weeks notice? Oh no, it was like, he had 2 weeks off. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Like to completely 2 weeks off from training. No training, no cardio, no nothing. Then goes back for a week and takes this call. And he was like, well, I might not have been working out, but I spar a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be able to do it. 5 rounds, why not?
And he could.
But man, it's just that style.
Yeah.
Like you said, he presents a really unique puzzle, and he just flat-footed. He's not fast. He's not light on his toes. He's not bouncing in and out. Feet close together. He's just sliding towards you. And he tries to shoulder roll. He tries to roll with some of the punches.
Frames a
and he
lot.
tries to move back. He does.
He has multiple layers of defense that you have to get through. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's hard to find the perfect. Like, Punahele found that perfect shot. Everyone kind of saw that coming, but not everybody can land that.
Not
perfect
Strickland.
Shot. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you didn't see it coming, but yeah. Hey, also, shout out to whoever designed the 30-year anniversary gloves. Awful job, terrible job. Like, come on, man. We could have done. It looks so bad.
Somewhere designers listening to this right now just put his head down. He's like, damn.
Dude,
I tuned in just to hear them mentioned. No, but so he reminds me so much. I think I've said this before of Nate Diaz, or just the Diaz brothers in general, where it's just pitter patter, not a lot of heavy shots, but then you just start seeing Imavov wearing it. Like the third round's coming around, his face is a little more swollen, he's all red, and by this time you could tell he's in a freaking dogfight, man.
Yeah.
And at that point, Strickland's just built for this. Like this is how every fight is for him. He's gonna eat some shots, but he's gonna go ahead and come back and continue with the forward pressure, keep on peppering you, just pop, and I love how he was ducking down so low and just coming in heavy with that overhand right. Rich put the picture up right now.
Yeah, and then so funny.
It was finally like in the 5th round, I think, where Imavov was like, "Oh, I could throw a knee right now," and so like he threw a knee and caught Strickland with a knee, but it was like 2 minutes left in the 5th, and I was like, "Well." Late. Yeah, but dude, it was a good performance by Strickland, all things considered.
Yeah, I agree. The power shots that he was throwing, pretty sloppy, but I appreciate him for finally throwing power shots. I thought his takedowns, the way he mixed his takedowns in, was really, really good. That's something that he hasn't really shown in his game for a while. He's like a grinding type of grappler guy too. He just doesn't really use it. He just wants to jab people's faces off. But I thought his timing on the takedowns were fantastic. He looked great. And I think he's got a very good style to take short notice fights. Really good style.
He does. And he quite honestly, even when he drops in weight and then comes in, he looks the same.
He looked a little softer this fight.
I don't know, man. He kind of looked the same to me.
He posted a picture like 2 days before the fight on the scale at home. It was like 217. It's like, oh, that's why they did catch weight. There's no way this dude was making 185. Shout out to ESPN also saying that this was the first time someone has headlined back-to-back cards. Great job. It's weird. They keep on not mentioning Tito in records. They're like, this is the first time ever. This guy's now the record holder. And Tito's just somewhere at home and is like, I have a record higher than that. Like, I did that twice. Tito did that maybe 3 times, at least 2 times for sure.
Really?
Yeah, back in like UFC 37, maybe.
Maybe they're talking Endeavor days.
Yeah, but that's why they say that's why you got to say like Zuffa era or like first ever in this era. But they specifically don't mention Tito ever. I don't know if it's like a rule. Like they don't really mention Tito. They don't mention Randy because both of them had really bad falling outs.
Yeah.
Really bad falling outs. It wasn't UFC
Oh,
37.
man.
I don't remember what it was.
Well, hey,
But-
shout out to Tito Ortiz, huh?
Yeah. Was it 33? It might have been 33. Hold on.
Oh, okay. You're finding it?
It wasn't 33.
All right. Well, either way, shout out Tito Ortiz. He's out there doing his damn thing somewhere.
32 and
running
33.
for some type of office. Okay.
Yeah.
32.
32 and
Right on.
33.
You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All
Yeah,
right.
lots
we
to
had,
talk about on this card.
Lots to talk about. Yeah, we had Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson fighting out of Dallas, and I was like, yeah, let's go Dallas. And then Dan 50K Ige.
Yeah,
he looked good.
Delivered
man.
on his nickname, dude. This is. I was excited for this when we talked about this. We talked about okay, what are we going to cover? There's a lot of fights this weekend, not just UFC. What are we going to cover? And we're going through. It was the card hadn't started yet, or I think it was like the prelims just ended maybe, and you were listing the names of the fights, and you were like Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson, and I was like, ooh, because I really like Damon Jackson. He's not a guy who's just gonna fight like defensively. He's gonna push the action, which for better or for worse for him, it makes a good fight. And Dan Ige, man, if you look at his record coming into this fight, it's like people were like begging for the UFC to give Dan Ige like a little bit of a step down.
A Damon Jackson.
Yeah, I don't mean any disrespect to Damon Jackson because he is very good and he has a very
he came
style.
out aggressive too.
He did. Well, that's what he does.
Just came in
and he just latches onto you. He drains you. He beats you down. And Dan Ige did a very good job of kind of separating himself and not letting that happen. But I'm just glad Dan Ige isn't just getting thrown to the wolves constantly. I'm not saying Damon Jackson is bad. I'm just saying he's not the caliber that Dan Ige has been facing lately. But I mean, and he took this opportunity and did what he needed to do. So he'll probably get a really hard fight next, which we'll see what he can do with it. Yeah, but there's a good confidence boost for Dan Ige because it's been a tough road lately. You know.
Oh man, that post-fight interview. He's talking about depression and so rough, man. So
I mean,
it made me so happy for him. Made me so happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, look at this guy's record. He goes Edson Barbosa, Calvin Kattar, Gavin Tucker, Korean Zombie, Josh Emmett, Evloev. Like, what are we doing, man? Guess how many of those fights he won? One of them. One of them.
That's rough, man. That's rough.
But he got a fantastic knockout in this one, though. So good.
Yeah, and I think this was probably the left. Actually,
that's probably it.
Yeah,
that's probably it.
But you mentioned the fact that he did a good job of controlling the distance, and for him, it was just small steps back because Damon Jackson in the very first exchange, he did this thing where he just blitzes in and he goes like uppercut, like right, right, left, and then Ige took a little step back, all right, and then going forward, every single time he started blitzing, he had like the same amount of punches in the blitz.
The timing was
so it was just timing.
Yeah.
So it was like step back, counter, step back, counter. And I was like, man, he's got it down. And sure enough, man, that was his demise at the end. And Ige, one of the things with Ige is he's always carried that power at 145.
Yeah, he really does, dude. He really does. He can crack.
He's got those Hawaiian coconut bombs, coming in. Boom.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is the left. Thanks, Rich.
That's probably
that's the left hook that
I love the dude
put
in the
him
background.
out. Yeah, he's like, I can't see. Did that connect?
He's
and
like,
then he just goes flying back.
Yeah. It was a nasty. The way he fell was pretty nasty, honestly.
It was, and then
the knees bent.
And Ige, super classy, just walk off.
Yeah.
That's all he needed. That's all he needed. And he said that should have. There it is, right there. That should have earned me the 50K.
Yeah, and it did.
And it did. Congratulations, Mr. Ige.
I'm happy, man, because I do really like Dan Ige. Even when he loses, he brings it, man. Fun fights all the time. I'm glad he could get a win because you lose 4 in a row, and it's who knows what's happening. UFC might be cutting you. I don't know how much he's making. That probably is all that matters, but
Yeah, and he's ranked top 15, right? If I remember correctly, still.
I believe so.
Let me see here. Featherweight Ige, 13th going into this fight. Our boy Alex Caceres breaking into the top 15.
Back in the
Let's
top
go.
15. Who's he fighting? Who they announce him? Side note for Bruce Leroy, they just announced another fight.
They already booked him for another one?
Yeah, they did. Keep talking. I'm gonna find this. And it's a good one.
It's all right. Well, maybe we can mention who it is after we go into the next one because I don't really have much else to mention about this fight right now. That was the co-main event, by the way, I think. Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was that was the co-main. Yeah.
Yes.
Great card.
Up next, we had Punahele Soriano versus Russian Chase Hooper, also known as Roman Kopylov. Yeah. Dude, so he's standing there, Kopylov, against the cage, and I'm like, is this Russian Chase Hooper? Like,
shout out JP, like him. The winning.
Yeah. Oh, is he on?
Him? Yeah,
I did. I just messaged him before we started. Shout out JPZ. Congratulations, man.
Congratulations.
JPZ, by the way, you put us to shame. If you or anybody else didn't listen to the recap from the 2022 predictions video, your boy Will and I didn't do too well. But who did? JPZ. JPZ coming through, man. So we owe JPZ a belt. We owe him a belt.
We owe him a belt.
We're going to send him a mini belt, JPZ.
And we need your new predictions.
Send us your new predictions for this upcoming year to see if you could be a defending champ. But on top of that, send me your info, bro, so we can mail you the mini belt.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So,
all right. Bruce Leroy is booked against Nate Landwehr. What a fight.
Ooh.
What a fight.
Hey, let's go, Bruce Leroy.
I know.
Our boy, alum. All right. We'll go on to, again, like I said, Russian Chase Hooper versus Soriano. Yeah. Dude, for me, I watched this and I thought, I need more Kopylov, and I need it now.
Well, it's been so long since his last fight. When was his last fight?
Too long ago.
September. That's not that long ago, actually. But
we need him every month.
That fight was, dude, his last fight was incredible. And I was like, ooh, this guy's somebody to watch. And then they match him up against Soriano. What matchmaking. So good. We knocked the UFC for their matchmaking.
Right there in the background. Look at him. He's like, I put this fight together.
He's looking at Soriano like, I did this to you. You can thank me later. But yeah, because Kopylov, his hands are so you see the name and you're like, all right, cool, this guy's gonna grapple. He's gonna be a really good grappler. And then he's out there throwing turning side kicks to the body. His hands look so good, great boxing. And you're like, oh, it's more of a Piotr Yan Russian. You know what I mean? It's not so much a Habib Russian. But yeah, he looks really, really good in a division that is so bad. Like, he has so much runway in this division. Like, like you said, get him in there as often as we can. You know what I mean?
Soriano coming in with massive hooks, trying to land that big shot right away. And meanwhile, Kopylov was like, yeah, dude, blitz in and you can meet my jab. Pop, jab, pop, jab.
Over and
setting
over
everything up off the jab, and then you see the shovel hook. He was just so creative with the shots. And then he had that spinning back kick that landed, and you just see Soriano's face.
He's like, no.
It looked painful. And so then
and Kopylov saw that too.
Oh, for
he
sure.
saw that too.
Yeah. He comes in with the side kicks to the midsection there, and you could see every single one Soriano was wearing it on his facial expression every single time. And I'm surprised. Which ref was it, by the way?
This one was Kerry Hatley.
Okay, yeah, Hatley. He woke up today and chose violence. He woke up that day and chose violence because he was like, you know what? This guy doesn't have much going on right now. Every single time, dude, his little toes can graze the midsection, and Soriano was in so much pain. He shelled up against one of the corners of the octagon. Kopylov was just attacking, and either way, he was like, "You got this, man."
Yeah.
Die on your shield, bro. Go out on your shield.
Once he landed that kick right there, I mean, come on, dude. Come on.
Oh.
What a great shot, too. What a great picture. But once he landed that, then he saw the opening, right? And he started just throwing jabs to the body, then coming up top, and then just hooks to the body. Like, he just started throwing everything. Some people, it's like, all I have is that left hook to the liver. That's all I got. The left hook and maybe the cross to the body. And he was just like, no, I have a full arsenal of body shots that I can start throwing right now. And he opened it up, dude. That was so gnarly when Soriano was up against the fence and he was just hitting him with hooks, crosses, like kicks, the teep kick, the side kick, like everything. And
surgical.
I felt real bad. I'm
a big Soriano fan.
Me too, man. He brings it.
He's so much fun.
Yeah.
Very much like Damon Jackson, like you said, though, for better or worse.
Yeah.
He has a style. Rich, can you go back a couple pictures? and I think it's where Soriano's that one.
Yeah,
That's what he leads with more
Yeah.
often than not.
Yeah.
That's what he leads with. But it's a lot of fun to watch, man. So hey, shout
And
out
look how
Soriano
open that
still.
body is.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just
Yeah,
a little
Kopylov
bit.
though
Yeah.
is very good, man. He's like you said, surgical, and people talk about bad fight IQ all the time, but fantastic fight IQ in this one. To be able to have like the presence to be able to switch it up like that, and because it's not like he opened up the fight going heavy to the body. I doubt that was like the game plan. I think he just
He
recognized
read
it.
it.
Yeah,
He read it. Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Really impressed by him still.
We also had Raquel Pennington versus Ketlin Vieira. We're deciding to go ahead and skip this one because if you've ever watched a Raquel Pennington fight, just think back to that fight, and that's what happened in this one.
Yeah.
Split decision, Ketlin Vieira attacking, Raquel Pennington eating shots but staying within the pocket, clinching, making a dirty fight, and then she squeaks out a win. Now let's go on to the next fight.
Yep.
You like that recap, though?
I don't know if you talked about the one from last night, her last fight before that, or the one before that. You know what I mean? We can just have it. We can maybe just clip that and then just play that every time she fights.
Every time she fights, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
just
We
drop
also
that
had
video, take a break.
Oh, okay. One of the things you said with Kopylov was you see this name and you expect wrestling.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
You also have Umar Nurmagomedov that went up against Raoni Barcelos.
Yeah.
And again, you see the name Nurmagomedov, and right away you think Dagestani wrestler, right? We're about to see a grappling match going against Barcelos.
Barcelos is so cool, man. This one was hard for me, dude. I really like Barcelos.
But Nurmagomedov, man, his mechanics are so good, man. He's such a crisp striker. Look at Sean Shelby again, man. Just looking in his eyes in the background there. Just
did
like
this. You're next.
He could be such a good villain.
Dude, he looks
superhero
like
movie.
He looks like any movie when someone's trying to not get noticed in public, when they're like hiding, like a Jason Bourne movie or like any movie where they're like, I gotta go undercover and like not be seen. They put on like the plain hat with the curved bill, pull it down real low, no logos or anything on the clothing. Like he literally looks like a low budget movie.
Oh, classic, man. That's a very good comparison there. But yeah, so Nurmagomedov, man, showing once again that he's a true mixed martial artist, dude.
Yeah.
You know, he's so good all around.
To the point where Barcelos was shooting on him.
No Habib, by the way.
Yeah, Habib's out, man. He's done.
No Habib. Yeah. So, do you think we should have a news segment?
What do you mean?
I don't
have
know.
like a separate
like at
video
the end,
where we
you
do
know?
news?
No. Just like at the end. Yeah.
We
like
did
a
that in the
news segment.
beginning when we first started.
Did we? I don't even remember. It's been so long.
It's been a long time.
Hey, listeners, let us know. Would you like something like that? Who knows?
Yeah.
Gives Rich some more camera time
MMA
too.
news. Yeah.
I love seeing Rich on camera. All right. But yeah, what were your biggest takeaways from this fight?
I mean, the same thing as every takeaway from every one of his fights. The lead leg, no matter what stance he's in, he's so good with his lead leg. And his ability to switch and manage distance with the lead leg is so good, because every time you take a step forward, he catches you with like a front kick, a side kick. Doesn't matter which stance he's in. So you try to enter based if he's a southpaw, and all of a sudden you're getting kicked in the face. And you try to enter, and he's orthodox, same thing. You're getting kicked to the body. He just stabs. He just keeps his legs out, and they're snapping. So there's no load up on him. So it's like you get caught because you don't see you see an opening, but there is none. And then here it is. If you get past the legs, then the check hooks are there. And then if you get past the check hooks, oh yeah, he's also really good at wrestling. So what are you even gonna do? So, and that's the whole thing. Barcelos looked so frustrated. He finally did get past the kicks, but he didn't quite make it past the hooks. You know,
so
he just looked so
Umar
frustrated.
Nurmagomedov, ranked 11th right now. Who do you put him up against next, Will?
I mean, he's let's see. Damn, he's already 11.
Oh, by the way, here's the left hook that took out Barcelos, and it was a beautiful transition. He goes up with the knee doesn't quite land, and as soon as he steps down, the power he's able to generate with that small hook at bantamweight landed right on the chin.
And I think, honestly, I don't think he threw that shot to land. I think that was the rangefinder for the right hand behind it. He was setting up the right hand, and it just happened to completely turn his lights off.
He still hit him with the right hand afterwards.
Yeah.
His lights were already off. So he comes in, massive hammer fist. The head starts bouncing, and your boy Umar quickly puts his hand under Barcelos' head so it wouldn't bounce anymore. After he already laid down the biggest hammer fist from Dagestan that Barcelos had ever encountered. And I was like, ooh, aw.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you asked me who he should fight next. I honestly don't know, man. Maybe, I mean, he's 11. He should jump up, but, you know, it's kind of a logjam now with Aljo's bicep surgery. Piotr Jan's up there. I don't think he jumps to number 2. Chito Vera's fighting Sandhagen. Rob Font is fighting somebody, right?
Give him Dominic Cruz. Just do it.
No, dude. No. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you go up against Pedro Munoz or Song Yadong. Maybe Song Yadong. That might be the fight. He's coming off a loss. Right? Song Yadong lost the last fight. Am I right about that? Yes, he lost to Corey Sandhagen. So, yeah. All right, time to defend your ranking, Umar. I think that's the move. Song Yadong versus Umar.
You know, time to defend your ranking, Dominic Cruz. Give him Umar Nurmagomedov. Let's do it. Sean Shelby, make it happen.
What is Dominic Cruz
Shelby,
doing?
Jason Bourne, let's do it. Probably trying to fix his nose still. Did you see how freaking crooked it was after he got kicked in the face by Cheeto?
Yeah.
He's probably still trying to figure out how to breathe through those nostrils, man.
Yeah. Shout out David Digital Marketing over there on Twitch saying the One Piece is real. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, he said? For sure. Shout out, David. All right.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitch.
Hey, good plug there. Good plug.
Yeah.
We're pros.
David makes it easy. You know what I mean? Thanks, David.
Shout out, David. All right. So now we're going to go into moment of silence for the UFC, monies for the UFC, and then maybe talk a little Francis. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect.
All right.
Let's see. So
moment of silence.
Still on the Umar page. Moment of silence. We had Jeff Molina versus Jimmy Flick. Molina withdrew. Did he, though? Because he's also implicated in the James Krause situation. Remember, he was very much defending James Krause when Megan Anderson was saying he's a terrible coach, all this stuff, and he was like, "What? No, I've been there. It's all on you." And it's like, "Oh, okay, all right, dude." And then it turns out he's also been betting on fights quite a bit, so he also might be just out of the UFC. We'll see.
Man,
yeah. Jeff Neal was. Well, I'll talk about that after. David Onama versus Aarons would have been really cool. I think Onama is must-watch TV every time he's in there. But Aarons had a shoulder injury. Cachoeira versus Eubanks was hilarious because Eubanks missed weight again. She's probably out of the UFC now. Jeff Neal versus Shavkat would have been amazing, but Neal had to withdraw, and I think they rebooked it for a later date now. I think it's on a pay-per-view now. And then obviously Kelvin Gastelum was supposed to fight Imavov in the main event, but he blew up his whole entire face, so he couldn't make it. And Sean Strickland stepped in. So there's the moment of silence. David from Digital Marketing on Twitch is asking, what do you think about Marvin Vettori? Who's he fighting? They just announced Marvin Vettori's next fight.
I don't know, but Marvin Vettori must be just salivating right now and saying, just give me Pereira, please. Just give me Pereira.
No, dude, they just signed a fight.
Marvin Vettori versus Alex Pereira right now?
Oh, I mean, it'd be a very good matchup. And his next fight might get him there. Who knows what's happening with Izzy. They booked him against Roman Dolidze. What a fight.
Oh, no, timeout.
What a fight.
Dude, you know how I feel about Roman Dolidze.
I know.
That's my boy.
But what happens when he hits a brick wall? Because he's been running through everybody, but you can't run through Marvin Vettori. You just can't.
I like Marvin
Paulo
Vettori.
Costa couldn't run through him. Dolidze's not going to. But what happens? What is Dolidze's plan B when he doesn't run through the wall? What does he do? That's the interesting part of that fight. Because
his plan B is probably go back to plan A because he's a savage like that.
Just keep trying to run into the wall.
And Marvin Vettori, head down, just straight in, concussion or not. Marvin Vettori is somebody that I think is underestimated and underappreciated within the middleweight division. If we have no Izzy there, I think Marvin's a champion. I really do. And even over like a Robert Whittaker, I think it'd be a really good fight. No, I know. I'm just saying, like,
But I mean,
I think there would have been
does he win all 10?
I don't think so, and I think that there would have been different types of matchups leading up to him winning that belt that I think would have gotten him there. You know what I
He
mean?
definitely.
I don't know
he
if that makes
still
sense. I think
can.
there would have been different roads to get there.
I think Izzy beats Pereira in a rematch, but I also think most people at the top of that division beat Pereira if they get to him. I think Vettori beats him. I think Whitaker beats him. You know what I mean? Like, Delize might even beat him.
I think Whitaker could beat him too. I just don't. Dude, Delize could beat anybody, okay? But I think Whitaker. Yes, I think he beats Pereira too. But I also think that Whitaker's unless he wrestles.
Yeah, well, that's
Whitaker
the thing.
leaves himself open sometimes to
get KO'd.
Yes, and if anybody can KO anybody in that division, we just saw it. It's Alex Pereira.
I think all it takes is one slip from a wrestler, one slip, and Pereira's down. You got the round, and then
you know what
but
happens.
You got to do it 5 times.
Exactly they always say every fight starts on the feet, right? Like I get it, unless it's what is it, Musechi, or what's his name again? Musamechi. Yeah, then it starts on the ground.
Let's make it Tony.
Yes, but I you still have to get in close. You still have to close the distance. You still have to time something in order for you to be able to get a takedown.
Mm-hmm.
That's dangerous either way with Pereira.
It is very dangerous. It is very dangerous.
Like, I'm a big Izzy fan, and I'm like, hey, I don't know how many. Do you know? Do you know off the top of your head? That'd be very impressive.
I think 0. If I had to guess, it's 0.
Well, has there been any attempted takedowns?
Yeah, he's been taken down. Bruno Silva took him down. Izzy took him down. His debut against Michailidis, I think he took him down as well.
I wonder, Rich, maybe in the background. He says,
"Isn't it nice to have the violence back? Wishing everybody all the best in the new year."
Shout out
HLB Comer. Good to have you back. We need your picks. We need your predictions for who ends the year with the belt. We need them. We need them by the Moreno Figgy fight. Once they walk in, Money Hooker's violence. Sounds like Dana White's New Year's.
Oh my, hey, dude. Oh Lord,
bless the slap Lord Dana.
Terrible timing, by the way, with Dana and the new, the new league that's coming in, and then all this happens. Yeah. Anyways, but yes, that was a long tangent for answering the simple question of what do y'all think of Martin Vettori?
Yeah, we think highly.
Shout out, David. Yes, we do. We think very highly of him. All right, now monies. Who earned some extra monies? I know 50K Ige with that name. 50, how can you not?
50K Ige got one. Oh, look at that. We have it on the screen now. Umar Nurmagomedov got one. Alan Nascimento. I'm going to have to rewatch that because I did not see it. And performance of the night for Kopylov.
Russian Chase Hooper.
Yeah, Russian Chase Hooper for his gnarly striking. Super gnarly.
Hey, if he's Russian Chase Hooper, does that mean he's also Russian high school Will?
Yeah, if I got on that Russian state-sponsored testosterone regimen.
All right, man. All right, so we also wanted to cover a quick thing, UFC related. We're going to cover Francis Ngannou, right? So the news has come out. Well, first it kind of started with somebody getting fired in the UFC, more than likely, or in the arena, where they put up the big announcement saying Cyril Gane versus John Jones for the heavyweight title in March.
Yeah,
I think it was March 8th or something like that.
March 4th.
And yeah, somebody called them.
Yeah,
and was probably like, "Hey, take that down real quick."
Well, the best is who's that guy? Aaron Bronstetter or whatever, however you say his last name. I don't know what's up with that guy. He called and he called the T-Mobile Arena. He tweeted, he's like, "Yeah, I called them, asked them if they ran that ad. They said no, so this is fake." And it's like, okay, it's probably real then, because that's the same guy who was like when Kevin Holland and what's his name? They had the brawl. Hamzat. They had the brawl backstage, and the press conference got canceled. And he was like, "In all my years of covering the sport, I've never seen anything like it." And then when they finally showed the footage, it was like a front kick to the body, and then everybody backed away. And it's like, all right, dude, anytime this guy says anything, I'm assuming the UFC is paying him to say it. So once he said that he called and they said, "Well, we never ran the ad," all this stuff, it's photoshopped or whatever. I was like, all right, it's definitely real. Like, it's definitely happening. And that also means Francis is gone.
I think that was the first thing that you said, right? When we're in that group text and somebody posted that picture and you're like, "Rip Ngannou, man."
Yeah. There he goes.
So. Now, the thing
within
is,
6 months, all the 3 African champs that they were going to take to Africa and headline an event, all 3 of them, all lost their belts.
Izzy, Usman, NGannou.
2 of them got knocked out, and 1 of them left. Shout out Francis, man! What a fucking baller.
Yeah, and and props to Francis for knowing his worth and sticking to his guns. I mean, here's a guy from the sand mines that had to sneak his way into France and fought his way over to the US. Yeah, and he's saying, look, if you're not going to pay me what I know I'm worth, then I'm out. And Dana's like, well, we're trying to make him the highest paid fighter in history, more than Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, which is big, right? But because I think Lesnar got like $2 million or something like that to come back for UFC 200. So that's huge. But Francis in one fight is going to make like $10 to $15 million at least. Yeah. And the UFC is saying we can't pay that. We can't do that. Yes, you can. You really, really can. You just won't. And Francis definitely gets nominated for the Dumbass of the Year award. I disagree. He's about to make a shit ton of money, more than anybody in UFC history, really. I think the UFC's he's gonna fight. He's definitely gonna fight Tyson Fury. He's definitely gonna lose that fight, but it won't matter because he's gonna make more in that one fight than he would have for the rest of his UFC career combined, most likely.
And that's the thing. Let's say that they offered him, a huge contract.
Yeah.
And let's say they told him,
shout out Regen, by the way.
Hey, what's up, Regen? Let's say that they offered him a $5 million contract. Okay. No pay-per-view points, flat, $5 million.
Yeah.
He'd probably have to fight 3 times to make what he would make fighting a Tyson Fury once.
And if he loses that belt once, you guarantee you're not going to be making that money. There's no way. They would.
Regen saying Francis did say it was never about the money.
Yeah, he talked on Ariel, said that right off the bat, UFC offered him a lot of money. This was before he left. This was way back when the dispute first happened. He said, they offered me a lot of money, but it's not necessarily about that. It's about the disrespect they've given me. It's about, I want to go do this and that, and they won't let me. It's more about that. Wherever he goes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Francis is going to, no matter where he goes, even if he doesn't fight Tyson Fury, he's going to make a ridiculous amount of money. There are no shortages of organizations that will pay a ridiculous amount of money to have a star come and fight. He has so many options now. Scott Coker's already like, cool. Yeah. You think Scott Coker didn't hear the fact that Dana said that he's going to offer him more than $1 million a fight? Scott Coker knows that, but he's still saying, hey, offer still stands. I still want to talk. Exactly. You don't think Jake Paul's already invited him to the super fight division of PFL? You think Francis is going to go there and lose to somebody? Who beats him right now? Who beats him in MMA? Who beats him in boxing? He's going to get beat by whoever he fights.
Jake Paul.
Yeah, no, he's not going to fight Jake Paul. Everyone's like, Jake Paul called him out. And it's like, no. Jake Paul's trying to get him into that super fight division to fight somebody else. But no matter where he goes, he's going to make a shit ton of money. He's going to get sponsors. He doesn't get sponsors in the UFC. Dude, Horiguchi makes $600,000 every fight in just sponsors. What do you think Francis is going to get? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's the UFC will never. And also, the UFC is fine making him watch. They don't want stars like that anymore. They do not want that. They actively are trying to stop. They're not a fighter promotion business. That ship has sailed. That is not their marketing strategy. They want these types of guys who make a lot of money. They want them gone. They don't need to take out. They don't need to get big pay-per-view numbers anymore. It does nothing for them. If anything, it literally makes them less money. When they have a high-selling pay-per-view, and because they stacked it with stars, they have to pay a lot of money. They're actively losing money. Their business model does not want stars anymore. Francis is not a star. How much did his last pay-per-view make? I believe it was like the Cyril Gane fight. I think it was like 350 or 400,000 buys. But that's irrelevant because the UFC doesn't care about pay-per-view money anymore. It doesn't go to the UFC. They don't get that money. So what they see is they get a flat rate for every single pay-per-view, no matter what. But if Francis is on the card, they're paying him millions of dollars, but it doesn't translate to more money back for them. Why would they want that? They don't want that anymore. It's not about.
You're saying when we're taking a look at the organization, this is solely, you feel like, an organizational move so that it doesn't hurt their bottom line.
Yes, because the when Endeavor bought the UFC, they took on massive amounts of debt. Massive amounts of debt. Like I think it's like $3.5 billion of the $4 billion sale is debt that they still owe. So what do? They sign the deal with ESPN to give them a flat rate every year, no matter how many pay-per-view buys they get. The UFC doesn't get that money; it goes to ESPN. They get a flat rate from ESPN. They sign the DraftKings deal; it's like $300 million a year. So cool. So they know what they're going to make from ESPN every single year. It's no matter what effort they put into it, they get the same amount of money. So what do? They need to. How do they make more profit? Because that's what the UFC wants, right? They want more profit. Every business wants more profit. So if they're making a flat rate, no matter what, every single year now, how do you make more money? By cutting the cost. How do you cut the cost? You pay fighters less. You cut Ultimate Fighter, you bring in the Contender Series, you bring in guys on $10,000 contracts. They come in, they make less money. So by comparison, now the profit that you get from ESPN is now more. Even though you're still getting the same amount of money back, you're now spending less, so you're making more money. That's all that matters for them. Until they can pay off that debt, they need to make a certain amount every single year. And the only way they're going to do that is cutting guys like Francis, cutting guys like Overeem, cutting these guys who make a lot of money because they've been fighting for so long. And they bring in all these guys from the Contender Series who make way less money. This is all like, this sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory, but it's very public. It's very like, this is, you can look it up. They're not hiding this. This is literally their strategy right now. Until they can pay that debt off, they do not want stars like this.
And how much more impressive does this like is this for Andrei Arlovsky, for example, who's been in the organization forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's a company man too, and says like, "Hey, I'll give you a company man discount and all these different things." But I don't know.
Yeah, HLB Coleman says Will lives in Wakanda world delusional like Francis. we will find out soon enough. Not everybody is Conor. The UFC doesn't want Conor. They don't want fighters like Conor. They do not want that right now. They'll get that later. They already have the grip on the market. They don't need to prove themselves anymore. They're when people think of MMA, they think of UFC. They don't need to do this anymore. They don't need the stars because the stars help promote them. Ronda Rousey was massive for the UFC. Conor was massive for the UFC. Once they sold, now they need to make more money. All that matters is money, and they're not getting money from pay-per-views. Conor McGregor does not make the UFC any more money than Sean Strickland headlines a pay-per-view.
Hey, shout out DL.
Shout out DL.
Yeah, joining us again today.
Nobody is big. HLB Comer says nobody is bigger than the organization, and that is on purpose. They will not let anybody get bigger than the organization. That is not.
I think one of the biggest things that somebody had pointed out one time, I'm trying to remember who it was and where I heard it, but they said all you have to take a look at and you have to go no further is the posters. So you see like a major boxing match, right? You see the poster, whether it's Fury versus Wilder or something. They're selling Fury versus Wilder. Like that's the biggest thing you see on there. You see, but then you go to the UFC and it's UFC event name.
Yeah.
And then underneath that, you have the matches. So they're selling the organization as a whole first.
Yeah.
And when I started thinking about that, I started paying a lot more attention to just the marketing for both sides. And I was like, holy smokes, man. It's super clear.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at Ari Emanuel. He's done talks at Stanford. He's done talks about a bunch of places. He's done talks about business strategy with what they did with the UFC. He's very open about this. This is not a conspiracy theory. The UFC is openly saying this. They are not promoting fighters anymore. They barely even promote the fights anymore. They don't need to. They just put out, cool, this is the event we're going to do. Awesome. People are going to watch. But it doesn't matter if they watch or not. That's the reality. They don't need pay-per-view buys. They get ticket sales, but they don't need pay-per-view buys. Yep. It's irrelevant to them. That's why. Why do you think they cut tough? Why do you think they laid off? I think they laid off like 25% of UFC staff when Endeavor bought them right away because they have a massive amount of debt to pay back. A massive amount of debt. Yeah, they cut it. Yeah, that's when Chuck Liddell all that stuff happened. So they know how much money they're making from Venom. They know how much money they're making from DraftKings. They know how much money they're making from Crypto.com. All of these deals. Why do you think they're coming so hard down on Krause right now? They did not care. They didn't care about Krause's betting thing until people started pulling out. Betting companies, sportsbooks started saying, we're not going to let people bet on the UFC because it's too close to fixing fights. Then they changed their tune real quick. Lifetime ban. Anybody who fights with them, banned. Because if that spreads and they lose DraftKings $300 million every year, they would lose Crypto.com their money. All this goes away, but they desperately need it. Desperately need that money because that's the only way they're able to pay back the debt year after year. So Francis is.
I just had a text message come through. Shout out Dom. It's a picture. It says Edwards versus Usman 3 for UFC.
Oh yeah, it's official now.
Yeah, it's official
now. Yeah.
Breaking
Sorry,
news.
That was a long rant, but it's super interesting to me.
Hey, we still have to cover another league, bro.
I know. Shout out everybody in the chat. Shout out HCB Comer. Shout out DL. Shout out Regen.
But Regen,
happy to leave,
last point.
Loses money.
Yeah.
He's not going to lose money, though. He's going to make a lot more money.
But, I mean, even if he does lose a little bit of money, who knows?
No,
right?
Dude, this is a big blunder by the UFC. This is not a blunder by Francis.
Maybe this one will go down forever, and maybe they'll have a Francis curse later on.
Yeah. And Dana's like, I
We'll
think
see.
bottom line is he doesn't want to fight the hard fights anymore. And it's like, yeah, why would he if he's going to make way more money somewhere else? UFC is not the big spender that everybody thinks they are. They're really not. Why do you think they lobbied for athletic commissions to crack down on releasing fighter purses? That used to be a thing. Every single fight, it was public because it's a government-run organization, the athletic commissions. And the UFC is who got them to stop doing that. Why do you think that is?
You are the biggest UFC hater I've ever met. For somebody that watches every UFC episode or like every UFC matchup, every UFC event, you are the biggest UFC hater I've ever met.
They make it easy, man. Once the Fertittas left, you could really see the change in the strategy and just the change in the organization. It's a bummer.
Yeah, it is a bummer. But you know who isn't a bummer?
And you know who's taking advantage of all these big losses that the UFC is taking lately?
Yep. One championship, man. Yes, sir. One championship. So they had an event on Friday. Right? They had an event on Friday. Look, he's putting on his pass. He needs his pass to be able to talk about one championship. And then oh man. So the reason we only covered 4 fights for the UFC, because we knew we were gonna need more time for one, but I think most of the time has been taken up. So I'll just let you cover really quickly the fights, your biggest takeaways. We had Allazov versus Superbon, main event.
Oh my god. Yeah, anybody who didn't watch this, if you're in North America, it's on Prime. You can rewatch it. It's included if you have Amazon Prime. Everywhere else, I believe it's on YouTube. Or if you just go to the ONE FC website, you can watch it. But yeah, Superbon versus Allazov, coming into the Superbon #1 pound-for-pound striker in the world, including the UFC. I mean, just incredible striking. These guys aren't mixed martial artists, so they can actually focus on it. You know what I mean? Allazov coming in, been on a straight-up tear lately and has gotten himself to... All natty, both of them, all natty. Has gotten himself
First team all natty.
Yeah, has gotten himself to #2 pound for pound in striking, right? So they're coming in. This is like literally like the 2 best strikers in the world fighting. This allegedly, right? Obviously, you can say whatever you want about that, but very good coming into this. And you watched it or no?
Yes.
Okay. So Allazov comes in and he's so creative, right? Like, they're both super technically sound, but Superbon's much more traditional, right? He's much more traditional, low kicks, high kicks, jab, like all this stuff. And then Allazov comes in way more creative. He can throw things from outside. He's much more willing to take risks, things like that. And he just never lets Superbon even get started. He just comes right at him and is just throwing all these crazy... He's throwing the 1, he's throwing the 2, he's throwing an uppercut, he's throwing high kicks, he's throwing body kicks, and Superbon is just getting smothered. And I remember people in the chat were like, oh man, Superbon's getting off to a slow start. It's kind of like what they do in this style. And Allazov was like not letting him get started. And then he just KOs him. Yeah, HW Comer says #1 striker in the world. LOL, you didn't say this is a comedy show. Nobody watched it. So then how would you know he's not the #1 striker if you didn't even watch it? You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, fantastic fight. Allazov just so goddamn creative, and Superbon just never even got started. So now Allazov's the #1 pound for pound. I mean, what a fight.
But I think the style, though, in which he ended up being Superbon was super impressive,
he just
right?
Ran through him.
Yeah. So, of course, in the kickboxing, they had the 3 knockdown rule. He gets knocked down 3 times in the same round. It's a TKO. After the very first time that Superbon was knocked down, you could just tell he never got his feet underneath him again. You know, even when the ref was telling him, "Hey, step towards me," he kind of like slid his feet a little bit because he's like, "If I try to take a step, your boy's falling." So
Dude,
he slid his forward, gets caught right away, falls back on his ass again, stands back up, super tough, and then Allazov with that major right across the chin. And at that point, look, even if it wasn't the third knockdown, after that last shot, he was out.
It's like the 3 knockdown rule, but he KO'd him on the third one.
He KO'd him for sure.
Yeah,
and then, dude, you gotta love the gold confetti. Gotta love it.
Yeah. Do I have any? I think I have some in my backpack. I stole some when I was there. But
classic.
But yeah, Allazov coming into this, I thought that he could win. But I was leaning that Superbon would, just because, I mean, Superbon's track record is just, it speaks for itself. But Allazov, I mean, once he lost to Petrosian, who's also an incredible striker, and kind of ever since then has just, he's got one loss since then, but the whole time was just insane. HLV Comer says Chingiz versus Superbon. Is that manga hentai shit Izzy watches? We're not talking cartoons here. HLB Comer, I implore you to watch these fights, because you're going to be like, God damn, these are good. They're so good. They're undeniable.
I'll be the first one to say, where I was on HLB Comer's side for the longest time. I refused to watch any Ryzen. I refused to watch anyone. And look, I wouldn't say I'm converted, right?
Nah,
but
bro.
I know that there's a few names that pop up where I'm like, this is must-watch TV. Yeah, I have to go. I have to watch this fight, and they've delivered.
And a lot of them were on this card. A lot of them were.
They've delivered every single time, whether it's Superbon, Superlek, Stan Fairfax, dude. I love watching her fight. Angela Lee, like there's so many of these people in this organization.
Demetrius Johnson, Anatoly Malakin, RDR. Come on, John Lineker versus Andrade. If you haven't seen that fight, they're doing the rematch next. Oh my god, I bet you I'm a bigger one hater than Will is a UFC hater. Oh, that's hilarious.
That is hard to beat, HLB Comer. Just so you know,
it's hard to beat.
If you are saying that you're a bigger one hater than Will is a UFC hater, then you must really despise One FC.
And definitely haven't watched any of their fights, because it is impossible to hate them after you watch the fights. But yeah, that was the main event. Fantastic main event. The co-main was actually Superlek versus Daniel Puertas. Puertas was originally supposed to fight Rodtang on this card, but he steps in on short notice because they had a mishap with the weigh-in. Puertas comes in. Superlek's so good. He's so good. But Puertas really surprised me in this fight. I'm being honest.
Well, dude, Puertas got caught with that right at one point. And Superlek, the kicks are fast, nonstop, every part of the body. And so when he throws that straight right, catches Puertas like right between the nose and the top lip, and you see him stumble. And that was the second round, I think.
Yeah. And then
second or third round.
The third round is where Superlek really hurt him and like almost put him out there.
That's what it was in the third round.
Yeah, and it was interesting because Puertas did such a good job of smothering Superlek so that Superlek couldn't get his kicks off. But Superlek adjusted to that, and he would start. It was a kickboxing fight. It wasn't Muay Thai, so they couldn't strike. They couldn't clinch to strike, basically. But Superlek would do this thing where he'd reach over and just throw that step-in knee every time Puertas would come in, because Puertas was kind of rushing in at some point or at some points. And Superlek started throwing that step-in knee, and it was so nasty. And then in that third round, he had Puertas hurt pretty bad up against the fence and just was
again. Both these guys all natty
for sure.
Look at that picture.
Yeah. Hey, why do you think the fights are so good? You know what I mean? There's the step-in knee right there.
That was something that was super impressive to me too, is the way that Superlek is able to throw different knees, different angles, depending on the situation. He didn't necessarily have to have a specific distance in order for him to be able to land. Like it's almost like he was throwing a hook to the body with his knee.
Yeah. He was he was able to like go out with it and then come back in almost.
Yeah. And so that's when Puertas was closing the distance, where Superlek would just come up and in, out and in, and hitting him on the arm, hitting him on the ribs, hitting him wherever. But it was awesome, man.
Yeah, HW Comer says the worst part. I must have clicked on one of those links from Will, because Facebook now keeps suggesting one post to me. It's either that or it's because one of these taking over, and you better believe that they are. This was a close fight, though. I thought Puertas could have taken this one. It was really close. But
by the way, shout out Chatri too.
Oh my
When they're
God,
talking
dude.
about
The moment of
the death of
silence, just Victoria
the
Lee.
moment of silence, Victoria Lee, and then the guy that's with him after talking about Victoria Lee, and he's like, "All right, now let's transition over to this
This
open weight
$1
tournament."
million open weight
And
kickboxing
Chachi looks at
tournament.
him and is like, "I'm not going to talk about that right now, dude.
Dude,
Like, I don't want to
honestly,
talk about it."
I already had a lot of respect for him, and that went up when we got to meet him and stuff, and he was super cool to us. And then this happened, and they do the moment of silence. He talks about Victoria Lee. You could tell he's like about to cry. It's super sad. The promo that they played almost made me cry. It was pretty brutal. And the guy from Amazon, that commentator, he's like, "All right, so tell me about this. We're gonna have to shift gears here, but what do you think? Tell me some more about this $1 million open weight tournament that you're starting, 16-man tournament." And Chachi's just sitting there like, "No, I don't think we're gonna talk about that." HW Comer says, "Is this where Francis will go? They could have him fight like 4 or 5 of these little dudes at once." Probably not. Even though I would love to see Malakin versus, I know this is a joke, but I'm gonna take it seriously. I would love to see Malakin versus Francis, but yeah, probably not.
HOB, Will took your comment and spun it and was like, "One
Yeah.
FC is good."
Yeah, exactly, dude, bro. Malakin is fucking terrifying. Anatoly Malakin, their heavyweight, well, their interim heavyweight champ. But yeah, respect for Chachi on that. We're not going to cover every fight. The Mikey Musumeci versus Bayan jiu-jitsu match was fucking awesome, though. I don't know how the hell Bayan survived. I don't know if you watched that, but dude spent the entire fight switching from leg locks to heel hooks, and it was disgusting.
Yes.
Mikey was like,
At
I
one
felt
point,
his
I thought the guy's knee was gonna pop.
dude. Mikey said he's like, I would switch away from it, but it kept popping, so I felt like I could have got the finish, so I didn't leave it. He's like, I felt it explode like 20 times. And I was like, explode? What the fuck,
Oh,
dude?
dude.
Yeah, nasty. But yeah, that was a good
So
one.
cool.
Onglan Song versus Galvao was fun because Galvao is such a specialist with jiu-jitsu. And then Ong said, hold these hammer fists and then just beat the brakes off of him. And the next fight we're going to really cover is Rodtang versus Yibu, because how are we not going to cover Rodtang? The guy's a fucking tank. I mean, look at this dude. You all right, dude?
Yeah. He's having a good time. He's having a good time. Dude, what I do, like, he gets caught, right, by Yidu. And he puts his arms down and he does this like little dance.
He always
and, like,
does that, dude.
Dude, it moves forward, eats a couple more shots, and he's just like, all right, my turn.
Yeah.
This guy's
must watch
human.
TV. Must watch TV. I mean, that happens if you watch ONE FC has this highlight video of him that it's just him running through people and then eating like a high kick, and he does that shit. He like boom and then walks forward, and you're like, he's not human. He's not human. It's like Michael Myers. It's like a Halloween movie where like Michael Myers, they'll like shoot him, and then he just
keeps on
goes
walking
down and then just gets back up and starts walking. They're just like, oh my god, it's literally Rodtang.
Yeah, dude.
This was a fun awesome, fight, though. Man. Yeah, Yibu looked good, man. I'm excited to see him. He stepped in on short notice to take this fight. Like I said,
so this is my first time watching Yibu. My first time watching Yibu, and I took it with a grain of salt here because I thought to myself, like, he's going up against Rodtang too. You know, so like whatever he looks like right now, he must really be a lot better than this. Which is pretty impressive, you know. But whoa, what is this?
That was his walkout. But yeah, because Rodtang was supposed to fight Puertas. So Yibu took this on like I think a week's notice or something like that, 2 weeks notice, and got some shots off, dude. His hands looked really good. I'm
excited to see it always look bored.
I know, dude. Probably is.
I'm looking through all the ONE FC pictures, right? And every picture I'm looking at, it looks like he's just like, whatever.
Dude, I don't know how, like, he's special, man. I wish he would work on his defense a little bit because at the end of his career, it's going to be tough, probably.
His defense is his forehead.
I mean, he literally just eats a shot. He'll do the shake, and then he's like, all right, cool, my turn. And then just beats the brakes off of you. I mean, this fight, the first round, Yibu looked very good. He lost the first round, but he did look good. And then it was just all Rodtang, just running through him. But props for Yibu for taking this fight on short notice and holding his own. He didn't get finished, so
yeah,
that means something, you know. But yeah, if anybody doesn't know Rodtang, for sure, check out his highlights at least on YouTube. His fight with Haggerty was fucking insane. Yeah, Rodtang's the shit.
All right, last one.
The other big one, Stamp Fairfax versus Supergirl. Also a short notice fight because
Yes.
Stan Fairfax was supposed to fight Anissa Mexen in a mixed rules fight. It was going to be kickboxing, then MMA, then kickboxing, then MMA, transitioning each round. Would have been awesome. Anissa couldn't make it. So on one day's notice, Supergirl steps in to fight her. She was supposed to fight earlier on the card. Her opponent missed weight, so they canceled that fight. Brought Supergirl in. And Stamp gave up 10 pounds in this fight. Supergirl's in another weight class. But holy shit.
Dude, there's no feeling out process. Right away, they start throwing blows. Anna did such a good job pinning Stamp up against the fence and unloading. But then Stamp biting down on the mouthpiece, and she would get out of it. Instead of circling out, she's like, well, let me come at you with my 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Just over and over again. Yeah, which was super impressive. Now, let me ask you, do you think Stamp won?
Why are you doing this to me, Doug? What are you doing here?
Because I'm watching this, and I love watching Stamp. But I was like, man, I thought Supergirl edged this out.
Live, I thought Supergirl took the. I thought she won. It was a split decision. I think I could see Stamp winning. I don't think it was a robbery. I could see her winning because Supergirl kind of would take her foot off the gas for the second half of each round. So maybe it's like they're letting like the end of the rounds like value a little bit more. You know what I mean? Sometimes like it's like short-term memory, right? You remember the end of the round more than you remember the start usually.
Yeah.
And then also watching some of the highlights, there was a lot of times where Supergirl would have her up against the fence and was throwing those crazy combos, and Stamp did a decent job of deflecting and framing off. It's a lot easier with those big gloves, but yeah, I don't know. I think if I was judging it, I probably would have given it to Supergirl. But
Same.
I don't think it was a robbery. I think it was a really good fight.
It was
close. I thought they both should have got a bonus for this, if I'm being honest. They both took it on 1 day's notice. I mean, how do you take a fight on 1 day's notice?
Dana would have given them both the bonus.
Oh, definitely. With that budget. But yeah, I thought this was a fantastic fight. Kind of turned into a little bit of a super fight, honestly. Stamp was supposed to fight Anissa, which was a super fight. Supergirl was supposed to be doing a rematch. But yeah, Supergirl versus Stamp was kind of a little bit of a super fight.
There
Fun
we
stuff,
go.
though. Fun card too. The whole card was really good.
Well, that's all we're covering from one. Was there any last things that you wanted to mention from One FC?
No. Well, I mean, they're coming to America finally. This Prime thing has been massive for them. I don't know if people on Reddit and stuff are realizing how much more stuff is popping up about One because this, like HLB Comer saying Facebook keeps suggesting it. I don't know if that's because of one of my links, but he also might just be joking. But I mean, dude, they're starting to become like undeniable, and I think this push with the Prime cards and now coming to America. We sat next to Rich Franklin. I mean, we sat next to somebody at the hotel breakfast over there in the Philippines, and they were talking about how there's 3 or 4 other states who are very close to allowing knees to the head on the ground, which would allow ONE FC to come to those states as well. It's definitely they're gonna keep coming back to America. And I think it's the perfect time because the public favor of the UFC is starting to drop a little bit. At least from like the diehards and stuff. Like if you look at like the forums and stuff, a lot of people are kind of being like, man, what the fuck are they doing? It's the perfect time for ONE FC to kind of transition themselves in. And I think people should want that because competition is good. If ONE FC blows up, it will make the UFC better. There 100%. Should not be one organization running everything. That's not how it should work.
Competition is always good. Competition is always good. All right. Next week, we have UFC 283, Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill. We also have Figueiredo versus Moreno 4, which, man, 4th fight, and every single one has been exciting.
Yeah. People are complaining about that. Like, how many times are we going to watch this? They're holding up the division and stuff, all this stuff.
I'll watch it every weekend.
What are you talking about?
I'll watch it every weekend.
It's such a good fight. It
really is.
Yeah.
So you have Glover Teixeira, Jamal Hill, Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno, Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny, Jessica Andrade versus Lauren Murphy, your girl
Jesus
Will.
Christ.
Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker, Shogun Hua, man.
Bring it out.
Yeah, the autographed
One
Shogun
last
Hua
time.
glove, dude.
One last time.
RoboCop's in there. Thiago Moises. Let's see here.
RoboCop was supposed to fight somebody else, right? Brad Tavares, and that fell through. And then now he's
Dalton
fighting,
Ameda.
Yeah, Jailton Almeida versus Shamil. Hey, click on Jailton Almeida and tell me how many times they booked him to fight Shamil.
All right, clicking on Jailton Almeida now. Up, once, twice. Yeah.
Oh,
There we
well,
go. This
feels
would
like it
be
was more.
third time's a charm.
Yeah.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah.
All
Terrence
right.
McKinney on there. Man, Terrence
Hey.
McKinney is so much fun.
Thank you, HOB Comer. Thank you, Regen. Thank you, DL, JPZ, for joining us live. It's always a lot of fun whenever y'all join. And just a reminder, submit your picks for who you think will be holding all the different belts by the end of 2023. Props to JPZ again for winning the SOF fan pick belt of 2022. So Latifi can go back to back, but that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So yeah, put it in the comments here. Message us on Instagram. Get those picks to us because there is a cutoff. The cutoff is when Moreno and Figueiredo step into the octagon. That is where the cutoff will start.
Shout out David too from Digital Marketing. Also joined us from Twitch.
Yeah. So yeah, get us those picks any way you can. Comments on YouTube or DMs on Instagram. We need them soon.
All right. Hey, just so you know, Will, this podcast right here, produced by Richard Bustos, none other than. Oh, we got the horn this time. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another week of Story of the Fight.